Live from downtown Detroit, home of WDIV and Click on Detroit, Local 4 News at 5 starts now.
The Trump team heads back to court. What does their latest lawsuit claim really happened here in Michigan?
A Wayne County judge accused of crossing the line. New tonight, the charges claiming she covered up legal issues involving her own son.
But we'll begin here at 5 with the coronavirus and the daily tally of new cases not letting up. 6,008 new cases over the past 24 hours. And we've also lost 42 more Michigan lives over the past day to COVID. Each day, we seem to be watching that number of new cases rise steadily. Here's proof. 1 week ago, there were 4,100 new cases.
And as cases rise, we're seeing testing centers get a whole lot more busy as well. Let's check out this line at an urgent care on Ann Arbor Road near Haggerty and Plymouth. All of those people are there to get tested. We want to get to Dr. Frank McGeorge. This second wave, Doc, is starting to look a whole lot like the first one.
Yeah, Kim and Devin, it is. But there are some differences. The biggest difference between April and now is that back then we were reacting to spread that had unknowingly already occurred. This time we have a good idea of what's coming and we know how we can slow it down. The numbers are clearly worsening, but we aren't where we were in the spring, at least not yet.
Looking at the case numbers for the entire state of Michigan, the increase is dramatic. The 7-day average of cases was 5,040 on November 10th. That's compared to 1,020 just a month earlier on October 10th. Since the spring, we've significantly increased our testing capacity, and more younger people have been testing positive. Because both of those have an impact on the way we interpret the number of cases, other trends can be more helpful. On November 9th, the percent of tests that were positive was 14%. This is significantly higher than a month ago when it was in the 3 to 4% range. This change shows that increasing case numbers are due to more spread, not more testing. Looking at the trends in both hospitalization and intensive care unit cases is a very helpful gauge for both the severity the state is experiencing and the strain that's being placed on the healthcare system. Statewide, on November 10th, there were 2,936 hospitalized COVID-19 patients and 595 in an ICU. That's also up from a month ago when there were only 928 hospitalized and 218 in critical care. Now, a final piece of the puzzle in the numbers is a change in where cases are occurring. In the spring, our area was the state's epicenter for COVID-19. Back on April 20th, 83% of hospitalized COVID patients were in southeast Michigan. Currently, only 43% are here, meaning there is still time to act before the system is overwhelmed.
Now, the bottom line is that specifically from the standpoint of severe COVID cases, things are clearly getting worse across the state and in our region. In fact, in southeast Michigan, the number of hospitalized adults with COVID-19 has tripled in the past month. Clearly, what we are doing right now is not enough. That is an unsustainable surge, and we will find ourselves right back where we were in the spring, or frankly, even worse without any action.
And Frank, you say, or even worse. We know how bad it was. What do you mean when you say even worse?
Well, look at this. So we are just at the start of winter. We are heading into the holidays with a high baseline. And on top of that, remember, back in the spring when the rest of the state and even the country was doing better than us, we could call for help. Now everyone is in the same boat or worse. There is no capacity for help here. And that's why I feel this is an opportunity for me to say something that might make a difference. This is all hands on deck. It's not a heavy lift. We're talking masks, distance, hand washing, simple stuff. But frankly, everyone needs to help.
Yeah. Okay, Dr. McGeorge, we appreciate it. NBC News got access to one of the COVID units at Beaumont Royal Oak today, and you can see correspondent Steve Patterson take a tour of it ahead on NBC Nightly News beginning at 6:30.
President Trump making his first public appearance today since last Thursday night. President traveled to, of course, Arlington National Cemetery for a Veterans Day commemoration as he continues to fight the transition of power to President-elect Joe Biden. Alice Barr in Washington with the latest. Alice.
Devin, President-elect Biden meeting today with his transition advisors. He's insisting that the process is on track, even though President Trump is still refusing to concede. President-elect Biden and President Trump both paying their respects this Veterans Day. Biden visiting a war memorial in Philadelphia. The president in his first public appearance in nearly a week, joining a ceremony at Arlington National Cemetery, but not making any remarks. He's still waging war against the election results. The Trump team filing more than a dozen lawsuits, many of them already dismissed, as no evidence of widespread fraud has surfaced. Today, Georgia's top elections official confirming that state will hold a recount.
With the margin being so close, it will require a full by-hand recount in each county.
Biden now leads in Georgia by more than 14,000 votes. His legal team pointing to the results of past statewide recounts.
The average change in votes was 430, and the median change was 267. End of story. These margins cannot be overcome in recounts.
In Pennsylvania, elections officials announced only about 10,000 mail-in ballots arrived during an extended window after Election Day, allowed by the Supreme Court. Those ballots still being challenged are not enough to change the results in the state that put Biden over the top. And as the government withholds resources for the transition, Democrats are voicing alarm that denying the president-elect access to intelligence briefings could damage national security. There are also concerns over a shakeup at the Pentagon after the president fired his defense secretary and started filling top positions with Trump loyalists. In Washington, Alice Barr, Local 4.
All right, Alice, President Trump has now filed 4 separate lawsuits in the state of Michigan alleging misconduct in the 2020 election.
The largest is in federal court in Michigan's Western District. Our Grant Herms has a closer look at the effort to stop the count.
The lawsuit is the first time we've seen this volume of claims. Hundreds of GOP poll workers saying they witnessed or were told about illegal activity in Michigan's counting process.
Suing in Michigan's Western District, the Trump campaign filing a lawsuit against the Secretary of State and the Wayne County and Michigan boards of canvassing, in charge of reviewing elections. The Trump campaign hoping to prevent those boards from certifying the vote. Inside are 234 pages of affidavits from people claiming to have been Republican poll watchers who witnessed or were told about misconduct by mostly Detroit ballot counters. Last night on Fox News, GOP chair and Southfield native Ronna McDaniel saying those claims brought without evidence are signs of widespread voter fraud.
People testifying under oath how they were disenfranchised from this problem. That's the problem. And the other thing is, it is stealing. When you validate a vote that shouldn't be in, you are stealing from a voter that voted legally.
Multiple studies have shown voter fraud is extremely rare and has never been proven to be widespread. Also in the lawsuit is a letter dated October 28th to be part of the TCF Center accuracy test, and 2 other ongoing lawsuits in Michigan. One in Wayne County, which had a hearing this afternoon, and another which is being appealed in the state court of claims after being dismissed last week. Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson commenting on the allegations to our Devin Skillian this afternoon.
We've seen this in other states as well, trying to promote this idea that this election wasn't transparent, that things happened behind closed doors, and that's simply not what the facts illustrate.
Both the Trump and Biden campaigns have now been asking Michigan voters to help fund these legal fights. Democrats have already asked to be a part of another lawsuit in the state of Michigan. On top of that, Senate candidate John James, who lost his bid for the Senate this year, has started his own legal fund, potentially signaling there could be more legal fights in the state of Michigan to come. In Detroit, Grant Herms, Local 4.
Hey, Grant, and one of the suits in Wayne County had a hearing today on allegations surrounding the vote counting inside the TCF Center. Judge Timothy Kenny says he will have a decision on that by Friday. And then coming up on the news at 6, Grant will run some of the claims in the lawsuit and surrounding the election through our trust index to test some of the most widespread claims. Tonight, a Wayne County judge is facing charges of misconduct from the Michigan Judicial Tenure Commission.
Judge Tracy Green is accused of covering up allegations in a case involving her own son. Victor Williams walks us through the charges and got reaction from an attorney who knows her well. Victor?
Well, we got our hands on the 12-page report listing the reasoning behind the judicial misconduct allegations against Judge Tracy Green, and these are some pretty serious allegations. Michigan's Judicial Tenure Commission is filing several judicial misconduct charges against Wayne County Circuit Judge Tracy Green, alleging that she tried to cover up evidence of her son Gary Davis Head's supposed child abuse.
And I still stand before you and say she is a fair jurist and a fair person.
Attorney Lillian Diallo, who's practiced in front of Judge Green, does not believe the accusations.
She has always been a professional. She takes her job as a judge very seriously.
Yet the dozen-page complaint states her two grandkids told her on numerous occasions of the alleged abuse they were going through, being slapped and choked as a form of punishment, even showing the bruises to prove it. The paperwork claims instead of doing something, the judge would make the kids use makeup to cover up the marks.
I've represented her son before. I'm very familiar with that case. And when I represented him on that case, she stepped back. So she did not interfere, not one bit, in this case.
In 2019, Green's son was convicted of 2 counts of felony child abuse to the 2nd degree and was sentenced to at least 4 years behind bars. We're told both children were under the age of 11 during the time of the incidents, yet it stated that when the judge was asked about the abuse, she claimed to know nothing about it.
Those are allegations. Anybody can say anything about anyone. So let's just let this play out.
And of course, we reached out to Judge Green to see if she wanted to comment on all of this. She did not get back to us by this time, but we're told at the next hearing it will be decided if they want to continue with these charges after listening to her side of the story. Victor Williams, Local 4.
All right, Victor, we've got much more to come on this Wednesday. Let's check in with Ben.
Devin and Kim, just remember yesterday at this time we were in the 70s when you look at these numbers. 40s tonight, 30s by midnight, and we've got some even colder numbers ahead. More on that ahead.
I'm consumer investigator Hank Winchester. The security camera I'm looking at right now, the one attached to my own home, it's a big safety concern. I have important information coming up in a Help Me Hank recall alert.
Thanksgiving is soon upon us.
I'm actually scheduled for departure testing today.
A lot of university kids looking forward to heading home for turkey and some family time. But the university says before you go, there's one thing you have to do. We'll let you know what that is.